PKN 566. Lots of things to talk about, but I want to hear about Kyle's gardener.
Oh man,
You got enough of a tiff that it's stressing you out now?
No, it started with me saying that I woke up from a nightmare and then I immediately forgot what the nightmare was, and now I can't remember what the nightmare was to sort of say to myself, well, don't worry about that, or oh yeah, that thing. So I'm in this sort of state of gloom right now that's weighing on me, because I know right before I woke up I was very afraid or stressed about something, and it was probably goblins. It was probably like literal goblins were after me.
Are goblins a thing that cause you stress in your dreams?
No, but I do have dreams about monsters chasing me occasionally, or like running through the woods from evil. You know what I mean? I watch a lot of horror. Lots of scary shit.
I was hoping you'd say yes, because that's hilarious.
Goblins are pretty low on the tier of spooks and specters, frankly. I think they might be your covenant grunts of horror, you know?
Let's steer back to gardeners.
Gardener?
They're real. What happened?
So I mentioned the other thing because I was up all night watching horror movies, all the way till 9 a.m. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, fuck this, let's have some coffee. And I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, watching my third horror movie of the night. And I hear talking in my backyard. And my backyard's this closed off big thing with trees and stuff. And there's a gate, but there's a gate that's closed. And I have it so that my dogs can just go out the dog door. And so they have free roam of the backyard. They can leave the house in and out anytime they want. Okay. And I hear somebody outside talking, and I think it's one of my neighbors. There's guys had a hangout spot next door in the backyard, like a little patio and such. But they're usually not that loud. And I was like, what am I hearing? And so I get up very carefully because the dogs are all over me. I have 3 dogs in my lap. And if they hear shit, they're going to go bananas and literally attack. And I close the door and I walk out there, and there's a man out there in my backyard. And it's clearly a gardener man.
This asshole's pulling weeds out of my garden like a maniac.
He doesn't have permission to be there. This is a stranger to me who doesn't have permission to be in my yard.
Wait. I thought he was your gardener. You've never met him before?
No. This is when we say gardener, what I mean is the lawn man who was recently hired and hasn't shown up for a week. He was supposed to be here a week ago, and he shows up today. And part of his
that's not a gardener.
Part of the messaging to him was hey, make sure you text 30 minutes before you get here. I have dogs that need to be brought in and gates that need to be closed and such. And he's just out there. And if I hadn't been up all night till 9 a.m., the dogs would have attacked him. They would have just went outside and got him. And even worse, he's got the gate open. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing? I'm here to cut the grass. And I'm just like, great, a speech impediment. Wonderful. And I'm just like, nobody told me. He's like, oh, you didn't hear the. And no, you didn't message me. You didn't tell me. I was like, I have dogs. They could have gotten you. Do you want your grass cut or not? And I'm like, fuck no, I don't. Oh, you went through that gate? That's the gate that's nailed shut. You had to kick that in to get in here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And I start moving toward him now. We're at this speed now. And he's hustling now.
I'm bringing my Down syndrome dog with me.
Listen, sir, you're the one that went with Lispy S's gardening landscape.
I'm coming to get you now. And so he hustles out and he's screaming at the other guy, Kevin. I'm like, get the fuck out and stay out. Don't you come back. And I'm like, fucking, now I'm out there. Now I had to work on the gate for 10 minutes because he broke it. He kicked one gate is locked shut and it's never supposed to open. And it's literally nailed shut so the dogs can't escape. And the other one is the one you use. He's kicked a gate in. I have to repair it now. I was so mad. He was very scared.
Nailed shut?
Yeah.
It's nailed shut because...
So imagine 2 gates that swing together and in the middle there's a post. And to keep that from all leaning forward one way enough that dogs can escape, I nailed it to the post. We're never going to need a double gate to my backyard.
Okay.
But he apparently did. No, I had a meltdown on him.
What is a double gate with a post in the middle? A double gate you could get your car through. So I appreciate that. With a post in the middle, what are we doing here?
So the way the post works, to break the minutia down that matters not even the slightest, there is a PVC pipe set into the ground that the post slides into. And so you can open the gates, remove the post, and then you could drive a full car in there.
Okay. Thank you. I had to know.
So you couldn't someday drive.
Sure.
Sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
I was going to say you're on location. Where are we?
I'm in Florida. And
did you drive there?
Having a great time. No, I was a big.
You're not even a Midwesterner anymore.
I'm not even a Midwesterner at this point because my girlfriend was like, "Hey, my dad and my brother want to drive down with their families, and we can have like a bit of a convoy going, and we can even get walkie-talkies so we can communicate between one another." And I was like,
"Okay, this is a little cool.
This sounds like hell on earth to me. I don't want to do that."
What a spoil sport.
I'm a bit of a spoil sport, and I convinced her. I was like, "Hey, we can fly out of Belleville, Illinois, and
How far is that?
To Belleville is about an hour from me. It's like southern Illinois.
It's not nearly as classy
so we left
as Belleville,
from
New Jersey.
The airport there. It's not nearly as classy. Whatever. I don't know what Belleville, New Jersey is, but I guarantee it's classier than this. And it's like a rural farm town with a random mid-America airport in the middle. And I was like, if we can fly out of here cheaper, then it would cost in gas to make it to Florida. We should do that. And so I convinced her to do that. And it was 100% the right move. I didn't have to drive for 19 hours with some hellish situation where every time her brother's 5-year-old had to pee, I had to stop also. Can you imagine that? I brought it up to her as a point of ridiculous, where I was like, so literally every time, Melanie has to pee, we all have to stop. And I thought the answer would be something reasonable, like, well, no, you keep driving and then everyone catches back up. And she was like, no, but it won't even take that long. Like, she'll just have to do that sometimes. And I was like, what a fucking nightmare. Can you imagine a worse nightmare?
You should have gone in the other direction.
Trip?
1, come up with a really dope handle. I don't know, Road Pirate maybe. And 2, talk in CB language all weekend. Right? Like just when you need someone's attention, lead with breaker, right? You think this through. Ask for people's, what is it, 20? That's your location? That's your, what's your 20? What's your 10, 20? Use codes. This is the way I would have gone.
You're more of a man anyway. I could not have handled that.
Well, I would have embraced the CB culture. That does sound kind of fun.
Yeah, I think I'd rock the CBs all trip. Like if someone's in the kitchen, breaker. I'm Road Pirate here. I'm short on lemonade.
You ever get on the CB and talk to truckers and stuff?
When I was a teenager, I used to have that. We would talk to truckers, and then there was one guy who was really mad at us. We weren't good conversationalists. So we would just ask people for radio checks all the time. Like, how's our signal coming through? And we I don't know. It was how we opened every conversation. We didn't know what we were doing. And some guy
you weren't even talking.
Not really. No, no one would want to talk to me voluntarily, but we were there trying anyway. And there was a guy in a, what's a tow truck? He wasn't a semi. He was in a tow truck. And he was able to locate us by the strength of our signal. And he literally was like, I'm outside your house right now. And we're putting our faces up to the window. And he heckin' was, man. There was a tow truck driver angry at us in the front. And they're like, my dad.
Come on in, faggot. And then describe your dad. I'm big and angry.
Right. Try to do a dad voice with barely hitting puberty. But there was an angry tow truck driver on the street in front of us telling us he was going to get us. And that's when we went radio silent for a little bit. We didn't talk again for hours.
I remember jumping on the CB, and we're close enough to Interstate 85 growing up that you could pick up a lot of truckers as they were passing through. And I had gotten a good CB radio, or at least maybe good for the time. It had a big ass antenna at least, and it was it was a full box, and it was a CB radio from a trucker. And I just remember getting on there and going through the channels, and there was a guy and a girl like chatting. Like on channel 37, there's just like a guy and a girl like having a normal human conversation. The weather's good, but well, who's to say what tomorrow will bring? Well, that's how it is indeed. Just rolling along here, and I'm just like, take it off. and then there's like silence on the line, and they're like, well, anyway, I think maybe then. I'm just like, show us your tits. It's just being obnoxious as fuck until they get mad at me. But then I distinctly remember, like you described, being afraid that they'd catch me.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm miles away from the interstate in like on my dad's farm. You know what I mean? Like they're not coming to get me.
Dude, I had a different experience, but it reminded me of this. Like there was a guy on the CB radio graphically describing how he banged this woman the night before, how wet she was, this and that. And I'm here at like 12 years old. And I don't think he heard me, but I'm like, did she have boobies? and then he kept
the
kind of question you fire out.
right. So,
actually, no, she lost him in the war, but the bottom half was very much in play.
But the guy telling the story, like he must not have heard me because he just kept rolling on with like graphic details of him banging this girl in the different positions. And then eventually someone else butt in and he's like, I forget, breaker. There's kids listening in, and this is probably not the conversation you should have. And he ruined it. That's how it ended.
What a loser.
Well,
listen up, kids. You'll learn a thing or two about pleasing a woman.
Yeah, right. I ruined it. Did she have boobies? So what? Was I enhancing the story?
Did she have boobies?
Did she ever?
I'm gonna sneak one past the goalie here and get him to answer this.
Oh yeah, I had no moves.
That's funny.
So what you got?
I met a 71-year-old man today. That was one of the more interesting people I've talked to in my life. Like we were talking about his like childhood and whatnot. He's like, well, I raised 4 families, and I was like, I don't have time to get into this with you, but that sounds interesting. And he was like, first time I almost died, I was a lineman, Indiana. I'm from around Purdue, and so I was doing lineman work, and then a live wire came off. I thought I could grab it and, settle it back where it needed to be before it, came on down to the ground. But it done shocked me. That's why I got all these horrible scars all over.
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah, I could have guessed that before we started talking, actually.
Is that where your lips went?
Yeah, here's a real Skeletor of a guy. But he was like, yeah, that's where I almost died for the first time. Second time I almost died, I fell in a pig pen at a young age, and they almost done stomped me out. I was like, well, what the like, and this is like me saying hello. Like my inroad to him is I've said hello. Like my girlfriend and I are sitting at the bar and we're getting our first beer. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell you another thing I almost died for. Like, he's just teeing off, old man style. And he's telling me, like, he was alone. Yes.
Ooh.
And he also was telling me, he was like, my girlfriend mentioned something about how she likes taking, like, a 10 milligram normal dose edible some nights because it's relaxing and it's nice. And this guy was like, yeah, edibles, marijuana's pretty good. I remember in the 70s and 80s, I did a huge amount of cocaine, and also I dabbled in meth. And so it was like he dabbled in meth. He was a meth
this guy the show.
He was sick. I loved. Big shout out to Jim. By the end of our conversation, he was like, "So you do a fucking podcast? That's gay as hell. Let me check it out." Just like making fun of it. And but yeah, he was apparently almost dying most years from 1970 to 2010. And then he would only mention in passing, but not in detail. He'd be like, yeah, my first wife passed away doing, And it was like, no, I don't know what she could have possibly passed away doing. Was she a professional fighter? Like what are you implying that she died from, sir? But I wasn't going to push on that. But this guy ruled. He basically seems like a 71-year-old man who did an insane amount of acid and psilocybin in the 70s and 80s. And I even asked him, I was like, what was the punishment like in the 1970s for like getting caught with mushrooms? And he was like, what are you talking about? There was no punishment. They just didn't care. Like it wasn't even on the registry of drugs you could get caught for. And so if you showed up fucked up on mushrooms, I guess you would get in trouble for the same reason you'd get in trouble showing fucked up on alcohol. But he said there was literally no punishment, at least in rural Indiana, which is where old Jim was from, for doing huge amounts of psilocybin in the 70s. This seems like the kind of thing Kyle would know more about because you just
1970s when it was made illegal.
Did you gather why he raised 4 families? I mean, I get that one died from but beyond that,
I got through 2 of the families where he was like,
okay.
yeah. I only got through 2 where he was like, yeah, that was my first wife, and she, she's actually still living, believe it or not. And it's like, there's no reason for me to not believe you. And so, like, why would you say believe it or not?
She made it to 72. Well,
my second wife, we were married 21 years. We had 3 other kids, and then she died in 2020. And I didn't ask, like, how did your wife die, sir? I've just met. But he kept saying, like, she died in 2020. And so she probably got
COVID.
All ate up by the COVID.
That's a good guess.
And
I also wonder how he slipped in 2 more families in the last 5 years, unless there's some overlap.
I think he may have been horse talking. He may have been feeding us a load of nonsense because there was no room in his story for 4 families unless 2 were entirely neglected. Like just 100% never even saw him, got a lady pregnant, and just never saw her again because he was also talking about like, oh yeah, my son, he works for what is it called? Northrop Grumman, which is like a military industrial company. He's like, he works in Northrop Grumman in Australia. And I was like, that's interesting. Like that, what does that even mean? He's like, well, his wife's an engineer and has to sign things that says she can't talk about what she does. And then my son, he's just an accountant. He can, do whatever, say whatever he wants. And I wanted to step in and
this
be
guy
like,
sucks.
first of all, sir, an accountant is one of God's highest treasures. Like someone who should be looked out for and taken care of as a unique soldier of reality. But yeah, he was great. He got like shithoused sitting there over the course of like an hour. Like you know how you don't see 70-year-old people like drink a ton of alcohol? It just seems like a normal thing. Like you don't see them drink a lot because it's got to be hell on earth being hungover when you're 71. This guy got shit-faced. He was drinking 2-3 drinks for every one my girlfriend and I got combined.
He might be an experienced drinker.
It seemed like that because he also was saying stuff like, we were like, how do you, like, what are you doing in the morning? And he's like, well, I wake up at 4:15 and I do,
okay,
I like
Jocko.
to look at the stars. Yeah. And it's like, you like to look at the stars? And he's like, yeah, I like to look at the stars. When I was a kid, we didn't have as many stars.
That's such bullshit. He would have had more stars. That level
of shit. And it's like, but I'm also sitting there and I'm like, I can't cause a rift in this sitting next to him relationship before I even get my chicken quesadilla. I can't allow that. I can't have an uncomfortable eating experience.
Yeah, I think we definitely have fewer stars.
That's what they say. Yeah. If any, you're 100% right. They 100% had more stars than us as far as visibility. Yeah. There's no way they didn't.
It's the visibility we're talking about. To be clear, the number of stars that exist is probably comparable to what it was 30, 50 years ago. But the viewing, there just has to be more light pollution now. I can't imagine that there's less.
light pollution, atmospheric pollution,
even in
all that
rural
stuff.
areas.
Yeah.
I know, like when I first went to Texas and New Mexico and got out into that desert, it was like, oh my God, that was there the whole time. Fuck, that's so like we were outside we would go outside I would say go outside in the desert for an hour or two at a time, and just I'd have to like fix my neck because I've got it craned up looking for so long. You can see the Milky Way.
Mhm.
You know, you can see through the middle of the sky. It was incredible. You can't see that here.
I remember I went,
No.
we were whitewater rafting down the Grand Canyon, and we were sleeping on the riverbank. And that is an environment where you can see stars. It's second to none. It's a desert in the nighttime, and there was no moon. Anyway, you could see, I might have my phrasing wrong here, but like if I say it, you'll know what I mean. I think you could see the nebula, like the purplish thing, if you look long enough.
That's the Milky Way. You're looking into, we're in the galaxy is this donut. You're looking into the donut. We're also in that donut spinning. You're looking into it, and you're seeing layers of stars. That you're seeing the whole galaxy spinning.
Okay. I trust that you're right. I'm scientifically illiterate. I've said it before, but I had never seen the sort of like purple cloudy kind of stars before. Only the dots and the planets, which have color sometimes. But that was amazing to me. And I was on the beach with this 15-year-old falling in love, which in hindsight, I look at that love of mine at 15 as like a magic trick, like a circumstance of two people in an environment almost designed to be special. So
it was like last year
when I was 15. No.
Oh, she was 15.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We were both 15.
Oh, that's much more acceptable.
Oh yeah. Zach, can you show that picture?
Yeah, I had never been able to see that before until I got out into the desert. It's not evident when you've got light pollution. Even in like rural Georgia, it's not evident.
Yeah, I think there's the content of the liquid in the atmosphere that prevents you from seeing stars very well on the East Coast. It's just too humid.
Maybe, yeah. It's certainly in New Mexico and Texas was
that pretty.
This is a little
time
exaggerated compared to what I saw.
Yeah.
You would definitely
they've overexposed this. To soak up all that light.
There were hints of this that I could see with the naked eye, sleeping on the riverbank at night. It's dope.
Yeah, I've heard I heard some astrophysicist or somebody talk about how our ancestors got to see that every night, and we have less wonderment perhaps about the night sky and about space and such because our views have been so degraded and polluted over time that it's like, oh yeah, there's like, I don't know, 30 stars and there's the moon, and that's kind of all you can see. But our ancestors.
That's why NASA got defunded.
Poor NASA. That's one of my least favorite things about the Trump administration. Fibbing on us.
They've been fibbing on us, dude. They've been saying we're not going back to the moon earlier than 2025.
They can't without the funding, Taylor. They can't without the funding.
Taylor, that was straight up truth. I don't know why you're saying we won't get there before 2025 is a fib. Gotcha.
Okay,
checkmate, baby.
Okay, that was fully true. We did not get there before 2025. It must be a later date. And it's like, get it together, NASA, because you're making yourself appear foolish next to like SpaceX. Because apparently they can do it. They can go to space. Why can't NASA get their asses off? They're sitting on their laurels over at NASA. They're like, we went to the moon.
Easy trips. Like
what?
The moon is so much farther than the space station. It's easy to get that twisted. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not right, and I'm close. I think we're talking about like 75 miles versus 250,000 miles.
Yes, that's exactly what you're talking about. I think Starlink's around 65 miles, 75 miles, and the moon is 250,000 miles.
Okay. It's scientifically semi-limited. I'm upgrading myself.
Yeah.
Kyle, why don't you think they've gone back to the moon? Do you see it as like there's no reason? No,
there's reasons. There's no money.
Reason?
It's too expensive and they don't have the vehicle anymore. When they ended the Apollo program, I think Nixon did it. There was plans for they're numbered missions, Apollo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were plans to like Apollo 30 or something like that. Woody and I really like that show, For All Mankind. And there's parts of that early on where you've got Werner von Braun, ex-Nazi, future patriot, who's like, his plan is like, yeah, first we go to the moon and then Mars in 5 to 10 years. And that was his plan. He thought he built the Saturn V. The reason it's so big and so powerful, that rocket that we used, he wanted to go to the moon. That was also a moon rocket, or Mars rather. So Nixon cut the funding, canceled the program, shelved the rockets, and went in a different direction. It's the money. It's purely money. NASA is full of people who want to explore space. That's what they do. You won't find anybody at NASA that isn't as big of a Star Trek fan as me, for example. I bet they're all like, yeah, Tuvok sucks. I wish we could go to the fucking the Jovian moons and explore into the ice. Like, you don't think they want to do that stuff? I'm sure they do. It's full of nerds who want to explore space. They don't have the money, and Trump has cut it once again. They do lots of stuff though. They just don't get good publicity. I think they need a better publicist at NASA to like. Every now and then they'll be like, "Oh, James Webb found this. All right, that's great. I love the James Webb findings and pictures and stuff." But they don't talk about the little missions they do where they've got orbiters around the moon taking pictures, or orbiters around Earth, or stuff traveling around looking at stuff. I don't feel like, maybe people don't care, but I always find it fascinating. I'm like, wait, we've got an orbiter around the moon right now? So, yeah, of course we do. Fuck, nobody told me. That's neat.
Do any other countries? I wonder. I bet the answer is no.
There's this picture of all the different craft that have went up and been able to photograph the initial Apollo moon landing site. It's one of those things that they wheel out when people are skeptical about the moon landing. Like, all right, well, here's where China took pictures of it. Here's where India took pictures of it. Like, all of our enemies and our allies have these varying in quality pictures. It's not like they've got like 5 Polaroids lined up. It's like they're using different camera systems taken from different places, but it's the same landing site over and over. There's been I think there was a Chinese company that sent a lander up a month or 2 back, and it like fell over or something and fucked up. They're sending lots of stuff up there, but not people, which is what always
the orbiting part that I feel like there's a certain budget associated with keeping a satellite going around the moon all the time. Unless I misunderstood what you were saying.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know what's involved with that. Why would there be, right? Like, once it's up there, you know.
Why would it be expensive to maintain it after it's there? I don't know. I just feel like it is like
any more than
you do.
It's well, you're just like sending signals back and forth, right? I know they keep like making Voyager work again. Voyager's so far away. It's been traveling since the 70s or something. It's the furthest thing from Earth that anything has ever been, and it's hauling ass. So is Voyager 2. Voyager 2 is going faster than Voyager 1, some ungodly speed. And they use these mechanical, old-timey tape hard drives, plutonium batteries, and the equipment has been failing one piece at a time over the years. But they keep like sending code out there and waiting for fucking a day till it gets there at the speed of light, and then it's like, oh yeah, it woke up. Oh, it sent us back something good. Okay, it understands. We're back in business, baby. And they'll like get the sensors to work again. It's incredible that tech from the 70s, like, clearly they overbuilt that thing and built it to last. That to me is one of the greatest examples of American technocracy and engineering, that Voyager still works.
Is it even cool around anything super important to us at this point? Or is it like we're still just sending stuff just to see that it can respond?
I don't know what it's doing out there now. It's out probably it's out in the Oort cloud now. It's really far away. I don't remember I remember I saw those pictures from it forever ago where it's like looking back at our star, and now our star is a fucking star in the night. It's no longer a fucking, like, you can't differentiate it from the other stars. They're that far away.
I don't like that. That's spooky. Makes us appear pretty irrelevant.
I saw
that.
I saw this picture from Saturn. They took a picture from Saturn of Uranus, and like Uranus is just this blue star in the night, and it's just like, it adds so much like comprehension to how big the solar system is. It's terrifying. It's
There's
terrifying.
a YouTube video that I think Kyle would really like, and it was about what Earth would be like if it had rings. And I think Earth had rings at one point. I'm not positive it did. Yeah. And they did what I assume is a really good job at recreating like what the rings would be like, what they would be like around cities, how they would impact the night sky, when they would shine. And it was really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, after a Theia,
our rings
Theia
were
impacted
from
Earth, there were rings.
Theia being what became our moon. Is that right? Or
Theia was another planet that collided with Earth and hit at such an angle that it went deep enough to knock off a moon-sized chunk of our planet, at least, but not so deep as to hit the core of the Earth. And then there are these simulations that show the two blobs that were created of molten goo that then coalesced into Earth and Moon. But they know that from a number of things.
So it was a different body that struck Earth, and then that body didn't become the moon. I always thought
they became the moon. They coalesced,
hit us. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's both. The moon is made of the same stuff as we are, though. Is the main thing.
Okay. The moon is still pretty sick.
Of course, the moon is.
And
the moon is so sick that it's one of the things that makes me like wonder if there is a god. The thing is perfectly aligned to create those solar eclipses. It's the perfect distance away for us. I know that distance has changed over time, but right now it's perfect, like solar eclipse when that thing moves in front. It's rotating at the exact speed that the Earth is, or whatever. It's locked. So the moon spins, but the same side of it faces us all the time because they're locked together in a perfect watch-like mechanism.
Lock.
Oh, it's not even tidally locked. There are some planets that always face their star with the same side. They don't like they have their tidal. That's what tidally locked is, I think. You have one side that's always day and one side that's always night. The moon is spinning. It's just synced up with the Earth's rotation so that we always look at the same side. It's a little hard to picture. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was like, wait a minute, does the moon, this is like when I was like 12. And I remember us sitting there with coffee cups on the table, like spinning and rotating them together and like trying to work out what was going on. And I think we got it right back then. I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about it the other day. But yeah, the moon and its relationship with Earth is fascinatingly tailor-made almost. You know, it's bizarre how perfectly it matches up. There aren't any other moons like that we've seen. All the other moons are little. When we look in our solar system, all the other moons around stuff, they're small compared to our moon. Like the
They've
ratio.
got bullshit moons.
We have one of the bigger moons.
Moon.
Wait, ratio. That changes things a bit because like Saturn's ginormous.
I think you have to get to Jupiter to find a larger, in material sense, moon than what we have. Kyle probably knows more.
Like, is it
largest moon?
Europa? Is that around Saturn? Do I have that right?
No, that's Jupiter.
That's Jupiter? Oh, okay.
Ganymede, which orbits Jupiter, is the biggest moon, and I'm looking at a scale here of the moons. Let's see, where's Luna at on this? Well, you didn't put our moon on the fucking list of comparisons.
Kyle's on a first name basis with our moon.
Oh my god!
I think it's important that when we're comparing it to
on the list,
when we're comparing it to other moons, it's important.
It's the most important moon. It's our moon.
One's the moon, and the others are just moons.
And the sun's name is Sol. The solar system.
Yeah, if we want to be pedantic about it. Yeah.
Kyle's like one of those people that breaks into a Spanish accent when Mexico comes up. This is just me talking normally about Mexico.
Kyle, you'd be the kind of politician who is like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is like doing this or that.
I think that's silly to me.
You'd backfill it with a little accent.
I agree too. I agree. If you did it with France, right? In America, we call it France, right? In France, I think they call it France or Francais. It's something like that. And if I suddenly was like, yeah, that country nearby, Germany, France, you'd be like, Woody, stop it. You like give it up. Like just because that's how they say it. That's not how Americans say it. And I think that should extend to other places.
If you spoke
too.
French, I wouldn't mind.
Agreed.
That's the thing. That to me, that's the big barrier. Like if you spoke French, then that would make sense for you. But if you're just some cracker reading the fucking weather report, don't fucking slip into an accent. Croissant. You never been to? You eat croissants, motherfucker. You're from Missouri. Get out of here.
If you spoke French and
cool.
you weren't some sort of professional communicator, I'd be cool with it, right? That's just how you say it. But if you're on TV as a news anchor or something, even if you speak Spanish, don't I don't know. I keep it American for me. I'm your audience.
Whenever I would travel, I would like to watch the local news because it's like, oh, let's see what they do around here. I remember I got so sick and fucking tired of the local news in prison. It was that Montgomery, Alabama bullshit. But in LA, it's like, oh my God, everybody here's a movie star. They got hotties on the fucking news. This is crazy. And they would always slip into that. But it made sense because I bet a third of their audience, maybe more, is Latino and like Spanish speaking Latino at that. Like, so it makes sense. But
how many days in did you get sick of Alabama local news?
Oh, dude.
It's got to be like day 3.
The thing is, they watched it incessantly. It was a big part of their program. Like every morning, every TV was on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox to like watch all of their morning news programs because these guys get off on the hot like weather girls. They all want to look at the weather girls. Yeah. By the way, there was a hot ass weather girl. There was like some blonde and on one of the channels who just wore tight dresses and read the news, and it was like, okay, it's a hot woman. I'm gonna be out of here in 60 days. I don't really need to look at a hot woman that bad. And they're like, I've been down for 25. That's the best thing I've seen in 20. Okay, all right. I guess so. That guy yelled at me for changing the news that morning.
That was the guy.
Well,
no, that was a black guy. That was Parker.
Grumpy.
Parker was mean.
Black
Parker
guy
got
named
shouting.
Parker.
Was his last name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he went by Parker.
Sick. I'm so glad you're not in prison anymore.
Not as much as I am.
Of course not.
It's no fun. It's no fun.
You did well there. You had fun.
Of course. Yeah. It was brilliant.
That would be so funny. Retcon his prison experience. So like, come on, it was just you and the boys hanging out, having a good time.
Anything in retrospect, it gets lighter over time. So it is kind of funny to think back on now, and it's almost an enriching experience that I wouldn't want to trade away. But I want to go back. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Type through fun, right?
This is literally type 2 fun. Yeah.
Prison it wasn't type fun at the time, but in retrospect, it's pretty dope. I like the stories I tell in my head about it. How Kyle charmed his way to success amongst the prisoner population. Him telling Snow, his stories, and Snow being like, "That's fouled up, man. Dumbledore should have kept those kids safer."
He's not much of a guardian. They took my kids.
I don't like how he was always giving away points at the end of the year, but it didn't seem to be tied to anything concrete for the schools to learn off of.
Was that Dumbledore or Drew Carey? I don't know.
I mean, that's true to some extent, but also it was just terror. It was just terror, boredom, monotony, and like restlessness. And I was trying to sleep my way through it, so I was a little mentally ill probably from sleeping 16 hours a day or whatever I was able to do. Like if I could have slept 24 hours a day, I would have. Like if I could have pod person to myself, I'd have totally signed up for that. So I was doing my best to genuinely sleep all day some days. That was one of my nicknames that Snow gave me. Sleepy. Come on, Sleepy. Come on, Sleepy. 2.5 Men's on. You want to watch 2.5 Men? Let's see what Charlie's up to today.
Did you know that after this show he got AIDS? Like, no, he had AIDS during the show.
Did he? You think? I don't know when he got the AIDS.
I think he was fucking a lot of strange pussy, and if he got AIDS, he was probably fucking some strange ass, so to speak.
Oh, I had a different theory.
I think he hired from gay stuff. Yeah,
you can get AIDS from professionals. That's my own The heck is his name we're talking about?
Charlie Sheen.
Thank
Charlie
you.
Sheen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's my Charlie Sheen theory. He got AIDS from banging prostitutes.
You think Magic Johnson was also gay?
I mean, he may have dabbled. I don't know.
No, I think
I'm not
I think
the
that
kind of person who judges based on
I
things
think-
like that.
look,
Kyle.
I'm with you normally. I think that by and large, if you get AIDS, it's probably from that. But when
Of
you're
course
getting as
it
much
is.
pussy as Charlie Sheen and Magic Johnson, I think that you dip into another category that the normal man can't comprehend. An amount of pussy that requires you just go, it's like pussy to the power of 7. Like there's not even a word for it anymore.
That's fair. They're
Another
like the
theory.
greatest outliers ever in that comparison.
I don't know which drugs Charlie Sheen was doing, but it was a bunch. I'm just saying he could have gotten, given that he got, was it AIDS or HIV? I'm not sure. But that implies needles could be part of the reason.
Sure. Steve-O tells
That's
that
true.
story about how he was at a drug dealer's house, I believe, who had AIDS, and it was like known between them that he had AIDS. And the guy, they were doing tons of cocaine, and I think the guy sneezed or had a nosebleed. Anyway, he sprayed blood, AIDS blood, all over the table of cocaine, and Steve-O snorted the AIDS cocaine.
That's a risk.
That's horrible.
Steve-O snorted AIDS blood cocaine.
He's like super healthy now. That's pretty funny.
He is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
why he's like, I don't know how I didn't get HIV. I snorted all that AIDS cocaine. It's like, Jesus.
I would
fuck.
love to know the timeline where it was like, yeah, at first I was doing cocaine, but not the blood AIDS kind. And then I drank Preston Lacey's sweat from a fucking saran wrap bag. And then I did gay AIDS.
What if
In my-
Steve-O is hardened? Like those people that microdose venom until they're immune from snakes, right? Like he's just
Yeah.
been being insane his whole life until he has a billy goat belly and a snake intolerance.
Or like
I guess.
Ozzy. I feel like Ozzy is the person I always hear brought up in what you're saying now, Woody, which is like he spent literally decades drinking crazy amounts of alcohol that would like put a normal person on their ass, doing crazy amounts of uppers and downers that would put any normal person on their ass. Like, but he's still alive. He's not fully with it, but he's alive.
Right.
And so clearly there is a biological component to like he could clearly handle drugs and alcohol in a way that physiologically the average person could not. They would die.
You'd think his liver would be worse than mine, but it might be better having spent a lifetime training.
It might literally be a better liver than yours because because like your liver has just been floating through
Soft.
life. No,
Yeah.
just soft. His is like his liver is
Got that
Tom
grind set.
Aspinall looking for a fight. Like he's trying to, which I saw that news, which is relevant to you guys, and I actually picked up on it. John Jones retires officially, totally done with UFC, and now I also saw on TV Tom Aspinall is made the undisputed champion.
Yeah,
in
he was the
line.
interim champion. The only thing not keeping him from being champ. Don't think of it as them like handing the next guy in line the belt, because that ain't it. They've done that before. When Conor McGregor was finally stripped, they just gave Jose Aldo the belt back. But in this instance, Aspinall not only won an interim belt, but I think he defended his interim belt maybe against Curtis Blades.
Definitely true.
Like, which is unheard of, to defend your interim belt. Usually the interim belt is like, hey, the champ's like, he got knee surgery. He'll be back in 3 months, but man, we got this big fight and you're clearly the guy. Here you go. You'll consolidate the title in 3 to 6 months, but it's been 2 years or something like that, 700 days, something crazy. So yeah, fuck John Jones. What he did was awful. It was shitty. He basically agreed to numbers with the UFC and then backed out. He agreed several months back, and then he backed out. And Tom has been drug along with this, inactive, not fighting, not able to fight. So I saw, and the way they did it was so unceremonious. It was after the card in Azerbaijan, I think. They're like, any news on the John Jones front? And then it's like, John called us last night, retired. John Jones is retired. Tom Aspinall is officially the heavyweight champion of the world. And it's like, bro, that was I heard Ariel Hawani say this, like that was the culmination of Tom Aspinall's professional life, was achieving this moment. And it's not, there's no ceremony, there's no pomp. It's just a sort of like backhanded mention on the other side of the planet. He probably got a text message, "Hey, you're the champ now." It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't like that either. But
that does suck for him. That's not fair.
no, but we've got another white champion. I don't know if we've got any black champions left.
We have no black champions right now. The entire UFC has white champions. Yeah.
That's
Hell
my
yeah,
white
we got a
champion
lot of-
dance.
Do we have a lot of Eastern
Trump.
Europeans carrying the torch for us? I would assume.
So many fucking Europeans. There's only one American champion that I can think of. It's Kayla Harrison. She became the champion.
Wait, what's
2
Tom
weeks ago.
Aspinall?
Well, girl, that
British.
doesn't count, dude. That's not
Okay.
real.
I mean, she's about as real as a female champion can get. She's a big bitch. Like I said, she's bigger than that 135-pound man.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of Georgians and a lot of other countries. I can't think right now. I didn't get enough sleep after that Gardner yelling match and everything. I saw this video. I wish you want to talk about that more. Do you have anything to say about John Jones, Woody? Other than he's a piece of shit. He's in legal trouble again, by the way. I think he got another hit and run and abandoned a woman in a car or something.
Yeah, and I want to say there's police body cam footage of him threatening them. He says that his brothers slit throats and that it won't be the first time or something like that. I think it might be conflating.
Why does John Jones need to invoke his big brother?
When he said brother, if
this guy
people don't know,
like such a problem.
John Jones is like the third best athlete in his family. He has two brothers that were NFL stars of some sort. And so I don't know if those are the brothers he's talking about. I interpreted it to mean
my boy,
some sort of brotherhood and not his actual blood brothers, but I don't know.
Yeah, fuck that guy, man. Fuck that guy for just being a scumbag, for being a dirty fighter, for being a cheater. And most of all, the one thing I can't forgive is not showing up to do your job. Like, that's the thing. You can do all that other shit, but you show up and you keep like not losing fights and just beating whoever there is to fight. I got to give it to him. That's what you say. You got to give it to him. I don't have to give it to him anymore because he's a piece of shit.
Ages I'm about to spout are close if they're not perfect. DC was about 36 when he fought John Jones, who was maybe like 28, something like that, at the peak of his career. And
Very
DC
close.
fought him twice, even though Jones was clearly on steroids. One of them, people forget, is a no contest because even though DC lost that night, he got busted for steroids. And there was another fight people forget that didn't happen because they canceled it because of John Jones's steroid use. And then the third one he lost when they didn't catch him for steroids, but everybody knows he just got past the drug test. And John Jones did steroids his whole career. My point was DC was about the age that Jones and Aspinall are now. And DC took the fight. DC wanted the fight. That night they canceled the fight because John Jones failed his drug test. DC said, "Can I fight him anyway?" Bro, DC was not a coward. John Jones is a coward. Tom Aspinall retired that coward without ever throwing a punch. And that's how this should be remembered. And he called it too. He said, "I will retire John Jones without ever fighting him." And that's how it went down.
Yeah.
And now John Jones wants to be an actor. Bro, acting is a skill. You can't just no, you're a liar.
He has so little personality.
Into that.
I've been watching him act for years. He's terrible at it. He plays the fucking preacher's son who's on a redemption arc. That's the character he's been portraying for years, and he sucks at it. I don't believe a minute of it because I see evil behind his eyes and hatred and shittiness and scumbaggery and lies. I could see through you, you piece of shit. He doesn't. No one is fooled other than idiots by John Jones' fucking good guy act. You can tell that right underneath it is a piece of shit. I'm fine with that in my fighters. Like, it adds flavor. We can't all be the good guy. Like okay. I don't need everybody to be an upright citizen. Or even, I'm fine with criminals. Like, whatever. I don't care. It's fighting. But if you don't show up for the fight, then I'm gonna start treating you like what you are. That's just a piece of shit who doesn't fight anymore.
I'm with you. There are definitely fighters I kind of enjoy rooting against, who maybe are bad guys, or even for sometimes I've got the Diaz brothers in my head, who like I don't want them in my lives, but I love them on my TV. I'm here to watch them. They're entertaining.
Yeah, that's
people.
Connor. I mean, Connor's also a scumbag, not to the level of John. I don't know. He had those women. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. Conor McGregor's also a scumbag, but I want him. I want to see him fight. I'd love to see him on my TV. Saw him beat up a guy at the bar the other day. I liked that fight. I put it in his win column. He needed it. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was a nightclub. Is the one I saw.
Yeah, Connor's on like maybe a. It's hard to tell the layout. It's cell phone footage, but he's elevated like one step above the man, and he's sort of leaning down, and you can't tell what's being said. But Connor like hits him with a left hook, and the guy almost goes down, and then he's immediately followed with another left hook, and the guy goes flat. It's like, all right, KO victory. Let's go.
I think there's not literally a fighter in the UFC who fights at 155 or 70 that can't beat Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor loses to every single active UFC fighter. However, Conor McGregor is going to win pretty much every bar fight. He's still a professional fighter.
Totally. I mean, I saw him hitting the bag this week. He looks incredible. He looks incredible.
Oh, I thought he was slow. I thought he was incredibly slow. I feel like
was fine. He had the big gloves, and he was just sort of like throwing hooks to the heavy bag. I don't know. I didn't think he wasn't really doing glove work. I don't know. I guess I didn't evaluate it for speed. I thought I was looking at it more physically as well, like his. Because sometimes he looks bad. I've seen his body change over the last 2 or 3 years. Sometimes he looks terrible, and sometimes he looks great. And I thought his body looked pretty good.
He looks really strong. I think he'd take a wonderful picture, but I don't think that's the body type that suits his skill set. Right? His skill set is accuracy and timing and counter punching, and suddenly he's a freaking heavy hitter. Bro, they're gonna see your hits coming from a mile away with what you're bringing to the table now.
Yeah, he needs to fight like a fencer, not like a fucking.
Oh yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, he's that like a viper, like that maintaining distance and darting in and then back out again. That's when he was great, when he had that karate stance back in the day. That's prime Conor to me, is karate stance Conor. But you're right, him as a musclehead doesn't make any sense for his skill set. Or they talk about fast twitch muscle fiber, like that's him. He doesn't have that. Nate Diaz's muscle fiber is different than Conor McGregor's. He is a triathlete. Conor McGregor can't do a triathlon.
No, he gasses in the second round most of the time.
Yeah,
but his first round, I mean, I wouldn't make it out of the first round with him.
No, of course not. I don't want to go. I'm only going to the first round with a gardener. I'm not messing with any special.
I used to daydream during Joe Lozon fights, like, what if I could help him? I don't think you'd be any help at all, would he?
You would. You would.
You'd be a hindrance in there.
You would, and that's one of the. I think I know something that most people don't, and that is that a 2v1 is a gigantic difference than a 1v1.
Brian Shaw disagrees.
All right, well, that wasn't a 2v1. That was a 2v2.5. Brian Shaw is literally 2.5 men stuck together. Someone said that about him the other day. He weighs like. He's 350 or something, isn't he? He's like a giant. Like
we need Taylor back. He would know.
He's crazy big, dude. He picked that man up and smashed him like the Hulk. That was awesome.
I again with the Lozon talk, but he said that he would lose to Shaq. Even like a fully. I think Shaq's had some level of training, but let's pretend it was zero. And Joe's like, yeah, no, there isn't any level of like professional skill that can overcome that size differential. And Shaq is so big. You don't appreciate it unless you see him. And he's super, super big. Anyway. Yeah.
I saw a fight the other day where
one
of the fighters missed weight significantly. And the way they balanced the scales was like, okay, I missed weight. How about I fight you and your 60-year-old dad? And so like it's one of those situations where his dad is his coach, but he's a 60-year-old man, and so he gets in the ring, and the dad and the son beat the shit out of the other guy. Like the dad isn't adding a lot, but once it goes to the ground, I think that the guy who missed weight like pulls guard or something, or maybe like attempts a guillotine on the son, and the father's like, let me pop his head right out of there. Yep, pop. All right, now fuck you up, motherfucker. Get off my boy. Get off my boy.
Oh,
Get
I love
Get
it.
him, son. And they like team beat the shit out of this guy and tap him from blows. It was
That's
great.
amazing. Did you see the Chael Sonnen thing when his fighter missed weight?
No.
So currently, I think filming's happening now, and Chael Sonnen and DC are the coaches on The Ultimate Fighter. And Chael Sonnen's fighter missed weight, maybe by 6 pounds, something like that. And so it was 5 pounds. And the other guy is not going to fight. He's going to take the win. So Chael calls up the other guy and says, hey, hear me out. Let's do a weigh-in, and I will pay you $1,000 a pound based on how much my fighter wins. And the fighter who made weight goes, no, I'm just telling a story, Taylor. No, $1,000 a pound, not enough. Needs to be $2,500. And Chael says, all right, so by my math, that's $12,500. And he's like, yeah. It'll be in a white envelope. I'll see you at weigh-ins. And boom, Chael Sonnen takes the camera, right? Like now it's like another interview. They jump cut. And he's like, everyone says we're a team. Everyone says we're a team and that we're in this together until it comes time to write a check. Well, we are a team. I got $12,500 says that my fighter can win. And that's what he did. So Chael paid the guy $12,500 to fight his dude. And Chael's guy got his ass kicked. His face was dripping. He's bleeding. In The Ultimate Fighter, the way it works is they fight 2 rounds. And if it's 2-0, to simplify the scoring, they don't do the 3rd round. And that's what happened.
Yeah, so. That makes sense. I hate when people miss weight by that much. I kind of like that. If that guy gets a contract, it'll probably be about that. It'll probably be about 12,000 to fucking show. I sent a link over here. I watched this video earlier today. This is about Indonesia's toxic tofu industry. So in Indonesia, they called it a town. I looked at it. It has the population of Atlanta. It is like 3 or 4 million people in the metro area, and then like 7 million in the surrounding suburbs of this Indonesian city. It's an enormous city that has this gigantic industry of tofu frying, and they cook it with melted plastic. That is the main fuel they use is melted plastic and coconut husks, and they are shoveling like big piles of. You can watch the videos over there. Big piles of these bales of shredded plastic. Like and they use it to in both processes. So at one point in the cooking process, they turn the bean curd, the soybean curd, which is like soybean goo, into the tofu itself by steaming it, and that steam is ran by a boiler that runs on coconut husks and plastic. And then once they've got it like made into these chunks of tofu, they deep fry it. They go over to the deep frying thing, and it's big pans over a fire full of oil. But underneath is like, and this is all outdoors. Underneath, they're just pushing plastic into it continuously.
Black smoke coming up around the food, the toxic, awful.
The dioxins. It's dioxins. They said just from the chickens that lay eggs in that area. Each egg is 70 times what Europe recommends daily for dioxin exposure. Dioxins is what the Agent Orange in Vietnam that caused all of those, what poisoned the soil. And they show in this video like all the birth defects that we created in Vietnam. It's disturbing.
Steve-O could eat it. He's my man. He'd swallow that stuff for breakfast, literally.
Yeah,
but it's like
that's how Steve-O he'd be like, "I'll eat all this dioxin." As he does.
I'm gonna inject Agent Orange. But that video is awesome. If anybody wants to see it, it's called Indonesia's Toxic Tofu Time Bomb, poisoning millions daily.
Well, I don't like that.
Well, they're not giving
tofu as like a safer food.
The kind of
like
it is
something that the kind of people who are into tofu, I'm not into it, but it seems like someone who's into conservation.
In the West, that's true.
Again,
over there. No.
Scientifically illiterate over here. But when you smoke stuff and cook your food in the burn off that is like what, cedar chips or whatever they want it to taste like, oak, are we sure that's so healthy?
So
No,
it depends
it's
on the
not.
temperature. So we know now that like if the char from charcoal, if it's too hot, that smokiness that can be cancer causing. But what they're doing is a different story.
It's another
Like,
level. All right, yeah, I
it's
get that.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got to imagine the biggest pile of plastic trash you've ever seen. And then they're just like more, and they're just like shoveling shredded up like it's like Walmart bags and milk cartons and like all the nastiest plastic.
Some styrofoam.
Yeah. It's just
Styrofoam
disgusting.
burns particularly ugly. I
all that
sometimes
stuff's
burn
made out of
boxes when
petroleum.
they get too big and there's styrofoam in them, and I'm like, oh, this is going off into nature's dumpster. The sky. You know?
This guy.
I got no problem with
It'll
nature's
become
dumpster
stars
because I see
someday.
what the Asians do.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
my
Asians
Walmart
hate
box
the
is.
sky just as they hate the sea.
Vendetta against nature.
They
Heckin'
can't stand it.
penguins.
Yeah.
You guys
I
ready
saw-
to wrap? Oh,
Yeah. I was going to tell a story about this guy. I'll be quick. I watched this story. It was on Lad Bible, that YouTube channel, and this guy was a fisherman in the Antarctic waters. He was actually the person who watches the fishermen to make sure they're not hurting the environment, they're not killing certain kinds of birds or catching the wrong kind of fish. And he had this really friendly relationship, like 38-man crew on a big fishing vessel that has like it has a factory in it, down below. Long story short, it starts sinking in Antarctic waters, below zero waters, with blowing snow and waves so tall they cast shadows on the boat. It goes down. They are 150 miles from land. They're 750 miles from the nearest air base that could actually help them. There are about a dozen vessels in the entire ocean that they're in, all spread out, and they're all fishing vessels. And they all go down. They have to get in these rafts. They've got 3 12-man life rafts for like 38 people, and the raft is tied to the boat as it's like going up and down. The boat comes down and smashes the raft, and they get sucked under the giant boat. But then it spits them back out, and they're free. And so, but now their raft is like waist deep of Arctic water that they're treading, and like trying to hold the plastic. It's like a tent on the top of those rafts. They're trying to hold all that in. 3 hours later, he's like, I saw a light, but I didn't want to say I saw a light because I wasn't sure I saw a light. I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up. Then I looked again, and we were right next to a fishing vessel. And I looked, and there was a man there, and he reached down and he pulled me out overboard, and he kissed me on the cheek. They had come running from 30 miles away when they heard our mayday. They anticipated the waves, the tides, and where our position was. And the captain put himself within 3 hours. He traveled 28 miles and put himself 3 feet from me and pulled me out of that water. And he tells this great story. He's like, and I told him I'll name my daughter after your boat. And I sent him a picture 3 years later of my daughter Camilla. And it was like, he's like, 38 of us went in the water, 13 came out alive or something like that.
Dude, that's amazing.
This is my
I'm glad
daughter,
you told
Big
the
Tits
story.
Johnson.
This is my daughter, SS YouTube buddy.
Luckily, it was a pretty boat. It was a really good story. I was.
This is my daughter. Hitler isn't all bad.
Yeah, be careful what you promise.
PKN 566.